is an open letter for Mr. Joe Rogan. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope everything is fine. And this letter is the open letter is for Mr. Peter Zeihan. About Mr. Peter Zeihan. It's for Mr. Joe Rogan. It's about Mr. Peter Zeihan, which I just saw one of your interviews with. Apparently, was done earlier this year. And according to his prediction, by May this year, the situation in Ukraine would have been totally radically different, and everything would have been played out, and we would be in a much better position with regards to Russia. This is what Mr. Peter Zeihan's perspective was and is. Here's the thing, Mr. Joe Rogan, I love Mr. Peter Zeihan. I really think he's a brother from a different mother. But you have to take whatever he says with a grain of salt and with total attention to the stamp of the military-industrial complex that is on his forehead. If you really paid attention, Mr. Rogan, you would have seen the outline of the stamp of the military-industrial complex on Mr. Peter Zeihan's forehead. Because I'm sure if you pay attention, it's there. Folks, the whole interview, he was insulting to both the Russians and the Chinese. Insulting. He's telling you that the Chinese workers are less intelligent and less creative and less productive than the Mexican labor. Both white collar and blue collar and nothing. They're worse than the Mexican. You're talking about China, right, Mr. The Han race. You understand, Mr. Zeihan? These folks invented most of the things that you have used in your life, both from thousands of years ago and now recently. Almost everything you need, they produce, and almost everything, Uganda also they produce, and almost everything that Mexico also they produce. And you're trying to tell me that they're about to collapse? But we're in great position. Are you fucking kidding me? They're about to collapse, the Chinese? Mr. Peter Zeihan is trying to, it's so waist deep in propaganda that he's trying to tell you China is falling apart, but there are videos, and there are pictures, and there are videos, and more videos of these high-speed rails that China has put up for themselves and for their neighbors here and there, and you keep accusing them that these are all debt traps and this and that, but they keep producing and making for everybody, while you and your guys, Mr. Peter Zeihan, go and keep destroying their shit. Yes, Mr. Rogan, Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. Peter Zeihan is trying to tell you we're the good guys and they are the bad guys. It's like we are blind and cannot see that the Chinese are making comparable products. If you pay well enough, the Chinese are making very good, dependable products. That is their culture. Fucking A. Do you read any history? Just regards to science and techniques. Just do you watch any short videos of the techniques that the East Asians have come up with to catch a rat? 500 ways of catching a rat. Because they are, have you noticed that they keep whatever physics and mathematics ships there are globally? The team from Malaysia is half Chinese. The team from Uncle Sam's land is more than half Chinese. The team from Mexico is like more than half Chinese. Should I go on? So these are the lazy and the worthless labor that is in China. And we don't see their high-speed rail network. There are no videos about it. These are just fake, Mr. Zeihan. It's CGI. They have, we have, they have taken some of their productive capacity into Africa. Now Africans have some shit that they didn't used to have before, and they're making good use of it by, traveling mostly in transportation, which Uncle Sam's managers recognize that transportation is everything. So the first thing they did is connect every piece of city landmark to each other by road and rail. So China has done the same, but somehow that's a bad thing for China. That's a means of control and security. Yeah, that provides security too, just like it provides to you. Why is it when they do it is they're under suspicion if they do it? We are the only ones, Anglo-Saxons and people who, you know, want to, you know, show their commitment to the Anglo-Saxons colonial ideas. Both the Anglo-Saxons and their colonial ideas, as well as those who want to show how they're committed they are about Anglo-Saxons and the colonial ideas, are on the same wavelength. That they're all savages. Have you noticed how he insulting Mr. Zeihan was towards the Russians? And yeah, they're just meat bags, and yeah, they're gone. They're about to fall over. And what are you talking about? Are you're seeing yourself in the mirror and you're describing somebody else? Are you fucking kidding me? Do you think the rest of us are blind? Here's the thing I love about Mr. Peter Zeihan, that he comes through with such authority. A bit like Ben Shapiro. He has memorized like 100 different, not even 100. Ben Shapiro has memorized 100 different way of going about debating. Mr. Peter Zeihan has done, master 2, 3, 4 ways of saying the same thing, and that is, whoever is not in our boat is a savage, and whoever is in our boat is a man's man. That's Mr. Peter Zeihan's shtick. And he goes about going around with such authority. Yes, whatever he says historically, most of it is right. But the thing about history is that if you're really good at it, which Mr. Peter Zeihan is obviously is, you can omit at will and the other guy wouldn't notice. The thing about history is the real history, or which side won the war history. And he knows a couple of versions of it, and he omits and submits and omits and submits whatever he feels like it, whatever fits his narrative. So he does provide some historical facts, but those historical facts that fit his narrative at that moment with this line of thought that he's following. So, for example, he's going back to Russia needs to have their defenses up here and there, and you're thinking to yourself, are you fucking kidding me? Russia was okay as long as you weren't pushing NATO. You've been pushing NATO since 1991. You've been pushing NATO, but at the same time, what basically your argument when Mr. Joe Rogan asked you, so what about the expansion of NATO? Didn't see that? You don't think that had any effect on Russia's reaction? And you said yes, but basically what you said, Mr. Peter Zeihan is saying, is that our expansionist ideas should trump Russia's expansionist ideas because we have the capacity and they don't. That's basically the argument of we got a bigger dick. Do you? You're importing 80% of goods that you need to North America, up to recently at least, from Southeast Asia. If it wasn't China, it was Filipino. If it wasn't Filipino, it was Indonesia or Malaysia. All these t-shirts, simple things such as t-shirt. Economically, it would not be profitable to make at home, so it all went abroad. So you're trying to describe China as about to fall over. It's sort of like, what are you describing? They have good security, they have good order going on. Here's the thing, Mr. Peter Zeihan. People want order. That's all they care about, order. Where have you recently gone to bring order, Mr. Peter Zeihan? Where have you recently gone and brought order? Yeah, Chinese go and put up some rail and some road, and more roads and rails brings more security. Yeah, it's going to be expansion of the security state in Uganda and Chad and wherever, but that's a good thing. Order, transportation brings order. Easy transportation brings more order. What you, as Peter Zeihan, the followers of Mr. Peter Zeihan have done, or the cohorts of Mr. Peter Zeihan have done, is that you have, wherever you have gone, you have brought disorder. You didn't increase order in Iraq. Mr. Saddam had it under some kind of fucking shitty order. And if he wasn't, told to attack his neighbors, he probably wouldn't have. But he was told to attack. So again, the sole source of disorder is Mr. Peter Zeihan and his cohorts. But he's trying to imply that everybody else, you're in their home, and believe me, they want order in their home. They don't want freedom. What you call freedom and what in your perspective is good governance, if it's orderly, I think when it's orderly, they will teach each other, and they will learn from each other, and they will learn how to govern themselves better. And by the way things are going, they're doing much better. This is what I say, Mr. Peter Zeihan is a one-man propaganda machine. He just hops and skips over. I can see him as a 12-year-old girl who's hopping and skipping over basically hot air. Hopping and skipping and telling you a tale that everybody else is about to fall down, and if we are not there to police them, they will kill each other. But Mr. Peter Zeihan, the most well-known pirates in the world were of Anglo-Saxon descent in the Caribbean, and some French and some Anglo-Saxon, and all these people of Western Europe have become the best known pirates in the world. Nobody is as bad as those folks. So the whole idea that this is Mr. Joe Rogan, this idea that he first brings up every time he says, we brought order just so you would stay away from communism, and we allowed you to trade with each other, out of the goodness of our heart, as well as because we didn't like communism. So we brought order, and all we expected from you was to stay away from communism, so you could trade in the shipping routes, and everybody can trade with anybody. No, you didn't. You took a toll. Anybody who didn't want to pay your toll, whether buying treasury bonds or buying weapons, which is the only thing you can produce, is because this is the only industry that you can't export. you can't buy your weapons from the Chinese and then go attack the Chinese. Salute, Mr. Joe Rogan and Mr. Peter Zeihan. Here's the thing: the only industry you have left is military, is because it's the only industry that you couldn't export. They couldn't export. The rich people couldn't export. And Mr. Peter Zeihan is speaker. If you want to know speakers of deep space, deep state, Mr. Peter Zeihan is a speaker of the deep state. Mr. George Friedman, he's another speaker of the deep state. And they have chosen these folks because they're of two different ages, and one speaking for the deep state in this age group, and one speaking for the deep state in this age group, and one speaking for the deep state in that age group. And they're all promoting this idea that they're inferior, they're just insults to humanity. They will go under, and we will help them to go under, and they will be thankful for us helping them to go under, both the Russians and the Chinese. That's the whole thing. That's the whole theme of his show. And again, kudos to Mr. Peter Zeihan and his showmanship. He has made geopolitics and his act. He's not a comedian, he's not a musician, so he has made, out of his pure genius and a lot of hot air, he has made geopolitics so entertaining that he books shows and he goes and talks for them and makes them feel real nice and have an orgasm in their pants. But it's all a lie. Mr. Peter Zeihan, the whole time he's lying. A few of the lies. I had to take notes. And by the way, this is after this open letter is just for 1/3 of what I saw from your interview. So I think I'm going to have a few more open letters about what Mr. Peter Zeihan's perspective is about the world. The thing about Mr. Peter Zeihan is that he's obviously not working for obviously working for military industrial complex, but who he is actually representing is very big money. Who Mr. Peter Zeihan and Peter Friedman are representing are Peter or George Friedman. Who they're representing are on the surface it's military industrial complex, but in reality they're representing very big money. Very big money who wants, bigger empire, the more profit. There are more, mines to mine, and there are more tolls to collect. The bigger the empire, the better it is for them. Corporations which benefit Halliburton and all the Chevrons and Halliburtons and all the whole, oil industry and arms industry and real estate industry, and a lot of these industries are based on how big Uncle Sam's penis is. And if you and you're going about saying that if anybody who doesn't accept how big our penis is, they're not going to be part in our friend group. We're not going to send them a Christmas card. And based on that, and some people you just don't accept. You didn't accept Russians and NATO. So Mr. Peter Zeihan is uh, speaking on behalf of a very select group of people, all belonging to country clubs. Mr. Peter Zeihan speaks on behalf, not belongs to, wants to belong to, but speaks on the behalf of people who belong to country clubs, very well-known country clubs, or in case of New York and California, sex clubs. So my point is this: he speaks on behalf of that really 0.1%. That's the deep state. You want to know who your deep state is? They're extremely wealthy people are the deep state. When they want to do something, they do it, and all the representatives they donated to will come to heel. When they want to do something, they do it, and when they don't want to do something, they won't do it. So Mr. Peter Zeihan is talking on their behalf, demonizing the Chinese and telling you the Chinese are stupid and dumb and worthless. The Russians are stupid and dumb and worthless. And, the whole time, I mean, That's it. That comes about when you speak, when you attend gatherings of very wealthy people who like their own penises very much. He speaks on their behalf. Is it to the benefit of the rest of the world? Here's the thing, Mr. Joe Rogan. If there is a nuclear war, Europe is done because you know the only way Russia can get to the United States is through very expensive, very large ICBMs, big because long distance. They can pulverize European cities and be pulverized by Europe as well with tactical nuclear weapons because they're short range and you can pulverize most half of Europe with them as Europe can retaliate. But isn't this what almost World War II was about? The Europeans fought and destroyed each other, and then Uncle Sam's managers went and saved them. Haven't been down this road before? No, Russia is okay if you don't threaten them. But if you don't allow Russia into NATO, but then if you don't allow everybody into NATO, is why you have left United Nations and you have created NATO? United Nations is the interest of too many cocksuckers is in United Nations. We don't want that. We want the interest of a very few cocksuckers. So we form NATO, and then after NATO, it's not the interest of. We don't even care about the interest of that many cocksuckers. We only are interested in the interest of a very smaller group. That is the Five Eyes. Anglo-Saxons have got together. The Five Eyes have got together, and they're coaxing Europe to go to nuclear war with Russia. Yes, Uncle Sam is going to receive a couple too, but as compared to the what Europeans are going to endure after a nuclear war with Russia, you know, North America is going to be fine. Thank you very much. Better, not fine, better. But the point is this: why go down that path? Russia was not doing anything. If you disbanded NATO, Russia would have been fine. They were doing business. You blow up their gas line, and you are the destabilizing agent. Mr. Peter Zeihan and his cohorts are the destabilizing agent. The Germans chose to go hungry. The Russians chose to have 100,000 of their people die. No, none of them chose that. You went there and put a mouse down their pants, set their foot on fire, and now the fire is spreading. This is World War II, the prerequisite to World War II. Are you fucking kidding me? They can exist if they're not threatened. Everybody feels fine if they're not threatened. But has anybody willing to be giving those guarantees to Russia? No, no. The Polish president just recently was saying that yeah, we should go in and break up Russia. Are you fucking kidding me? Of course they're going to use their nuclear weapon before their homeland is, their main cities are invaded. These people are suicidal. Are you fucking kidding me? And Mr. Peter Zeihan, with such an authoritative voice, comes out and says, yes, these things are inevitable. We have looked over them. I have looked over them. You know how with confidence I speak with you, Mr. Joe Rogan. I have figured all these out, and these are all has happened before and will happen again. And well, if you stick your dick up the Russians' ass, the Russians are going to turn back and punch you in the face. Yeah, it has happened before. It has happened before. It will happen again. But that doesn't mean it's inevitable. Don't stick your dick up the Russians' ass, and they will not turn back and punch you in the face. Do you see, or you don't see? No, your Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. Peter Zeihan is explaining away this expansional Expansion of NATO, as yeah, that's inevitable. Expansion of NATO is inevitable. We could do it, and we did it. But expansion of Russian territory is unacceptable. I'm sorry. That's his literally slides over the whole thing, the whole perspective of, let's be logical here. Yes, they will not expand, but you also sign this paper and say don't want to expand anymore. And you will, abandon NATO just like Warsaw was abandoned. You didn't win anything. You claimed that you were defending freedom, right? So when the tyranny died, so what else are you defending? Are you the tyranny now? From the evidence, Mr. Peter Zeihan, that wherever there is a footstep from Anglo-Saxons, this NATO business, this Five Eyes, now smaller group, Five Eyes, just us. We're gonna go fuck every one of them because we are the pirates of the Caribbean. Anyway, the Anglo-Saxons are in a bit of a trouble. The Five Eyes are in a bit of trouble because they didn't want to produce. They wanted to do only finance and real estate, and they did it, and good for them. And so now you can catch up by applying yourself more. There is no reason to start wars in other places in the war, because by creating instability, by chumming up to Russia's girlfriend, Russia, and then Ukraine is his girlfriend. By chumming up to Russia's girlfriend, you're insulting the Russians, and now you're insulting their people. Are you fucking kidding me? And by the way, I should say this. A few days ago, I received a letter from Wells Fargo stating that if you want to keep your account with us, which has literally a few dollars in it, they say if you want your account with us, to keep your account with us, here we're going to send you a piece of paper. You have to sign it. I said okay. So I went to one of their branches. I said okay, what paper? He prints out an affidavit that says I attest, I promise, I swear that I'm not working for any government in the Middle East. They named a specific government. I'm going to just say any government. I'm sorry. People working for the government of Israel is actually in your Senate and in your House. The guy is actually, working for one of the governments in the Middle East and is part of your legislature. And a guy who is talking out of his ass and he doesn't know what he's talking about, and most of the time he's wrong, you get an affidavit from him that you're not working for those bad governments in the Middle East. I signed the paper. Of course I'm not working for any government. I don't like any government. You tolerate governments because you need security and order, but nobody really wants governments because when it comes to yourself, you want full freedom. You just want other people not to. So government is a basic understanding that how we can keep peace and order by drawing up some laws, and if everybody follows these laws, we will have peace and order. So I said, okay, you tolerate government. Now Mr. Peter Zeihan is going out of his way and saying that the Chinese government is bad. Do they have order, Mr. Peter Zeihan? Do they have security? Are people dying in droves? The only thing that started killing them in droves was something that was associated with you guys from across the Atlantic and across the Pacific. You guys, did some lab deal with them, and something happened, and shit hit the fan, and you know, and you literally maybe intentionally try to send them down a really dark path. Killing many of this. Mr. Peter Zeihan, this is absolutely racial. In order for you to want to destroy other races, and you keep talking about collapsing Russia has to collapse. What comes out of collapse, Mr. Peter Zeihan? You're actually rooting for the collapse of Russia and China, literally rooting, and sort of like, okay, what comes out? There's a looting, a period of looting, and then there's a period of lawlessness, and then there's a period of killing, and then turf warfare from the pieces that remains behind turf warfare, and then you have a shit show for decades. That's the result of, you would think, for humans on earth who wants to, what is good is you actually try to not destabilize them. Hope not that they don't fall down, and sign peace deals with them so they don't fall down, and even help them, because if they fall down, another piece of earth goes to shit. Are you fucking kidding me? This is the thing, Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. Peter Zeihan. He's one of those people from deep state, military industrial complex, and representing the very, very exclusively rich people that they just want to expand their reach for economic reasons, for money, for profits. They want to expand their reach because they can. So, you know, BlackRock owns almost everything that has a share of almost everything in North America. BlackRock wants to have almost a share of everything in Asia and Africa and Europe as well. It's just how this mechanism of capitalism works. You have to show improvement, profit, bottom line. You have to expand. You have to get the biggest yacht. That's your capitalism. For this, you need to expand, and for that, they bring Peter Zeihan to put a show on and tell you what's what in a very authoritative manner, and tells you that it's inevitable for Russia to go to shit. Do you see all these statues that keep breaking? Both sides. Start mostly on your side, people on your side. The, the British recently took all the modern art out of Ukraine and took them to London. Basically, they're killing Ukrainians and taking their shit in a war with Russia. This is Anglo-Saxons for you. They are fighting, and the British take the what's the word for it? Take the loot, while those motherfuckers are fighting. The British are taking the loot. The same thing happened in Iraq, invasion of Iraq. Poor people are fighting each other while those ultra-rich siphoned out the loot, all the historical artifacts out of Iraq. Are you fucking kidding? You keep repeating the same shit, Mr. Peter Zeihan. There was no problem there until NATO expansion, which has been happening since 1991. After you actually said it won't happen, it did happen, just because you can. You're the destabilizing agent. Pirates of the Caribbean. That kind of mentality. Anywhere China goes, they produce and make shit, and roads and bridges just they have been making for themselves. And anywhere you go, you start bombing. Almost everywhere. If you're not taking it up the ass from us, we're gonna bomb you. Bend over. I mean, I was listening to Mr. Peter Zeihan. It literally felt like he's talking about Klingons, these mythical creatures from Star Trek or other bad guys, Darth Vader. It's like he's describing Russians as these meat bags and these Chinese as these stupid worthless motherfuckers. This is Mr. Peter Zeihan, and you're telling me this is sanity. Here's the thing: the Americans, the reality is, Uncle Sam's managers didn't police the world oceans, uh, according to just out of goodwill and to keep communism away. No, they policed the world or world oceans, as Mr. Peter Zeihan claimed, by way of they they collected a toll, and if you didn't pay the toll, in this case, paying the toll means buying treasuries from us, and making cutting good deals for our corporations, so our corporations can expand into your countries, in whether in services or goods, our corporation, or just coming in and buying your corporations outright, because we print the reserve currency, we print this money, we give it to our corporations, and our corporations go and buy your corporations, because we got the printing press. This whole idea is what's mine is mine, and what's yours is also mine. This is the idea that Mr. Peter Zeihan is pushing, and anybody who doesn't accept that is under sanction. They say, no, we don't want you to come and purchase our corporation. We don't want your corporations owning our corporations and our people. And you say, no, no, that's foul. You have to open. You have to open, or else we are going to say you're violating human rights. Violating human rights. Uncle Sam's managers are attacking China for violating human rights, while they have been in the same bed with Saudi Arabia, those folks who do business with saw and whatever dissolves meat and bone, and you're telling other people they're not. It's sort of like your wife is a whore, but you call other people's wives whores. It's sort of like, are you fucking kidding me? You're in bed with the Saudis and you're accusing other people of being bad with human rights. Okay, or yourself, Guantanamo Bay. That's habeas corpus is the main reason for non-existence of Guantanamo Bay. If we accuse you of terrorism, we take you, or we accuse you of, if we don't like you, we take you to somewhere that it's ours but not really ours. So the laws that we set up, the habeas corpus laws, doesn't apply there. Guess what? We found a loophole. Fuck you. Loophole? If you want to make a loophole for yourself, go right ahead. You can make a lot of loopholes for yourself. People always, see themselves as separate from the rest of the world because they're special. Communities, people feel special, families feel special, communities feel special, cities feel special. You have all those sport teams. Cities feel special, states feel special, nations feel special. Everybody feels special. But you're not. This pushing specialness that Russians are shit. The idea the Russians are shit and the Chinese are shit and this is shit and the other is shit. Up to, in the last decade, there was all the Arabs were shit, all the Middle Easterners were shit. Folks, here's the thing, Mr. Joe Rogan. I feel Mr. Peter Zeihan is from another planet, planet Zeihan. And what he sees on the ground, he's trying to invert the reality and say that those people who are trying to provide the best for their people with health care, it doesn't exist. He actually was saying that their health is bad and their industry is bad and they don't have medical equipment and they suck here and they suck there. While at the same time, during the pandemic, we saw almost the rest of the world needed all this shit that they were producing, including ventilators and including in mass numbers. The Chinese were producing and exporting. Everybody had to wait until the Chinese could catch up with production, from masks to ventilators. And Mr. Peter Zeihan comes and says, and by the way, we are seeing all the videos and the pictures coming out of China that they are doing their best. They're making a lot of shit as much as they can. And they're organized. And somehow Mr. Peter Zeihan is trying to pretend that the Chinese being organized is a bad thing. Order and organization is bad as far as Mr. Peter Zeihan is concerned. What is good is disorder. Libya needed to look like Libya, like this. This is good because it's freedom. The fucking thing has been in civil war for 20 years now. Ever since you guys intervened. Mr. Peter Zeihan, I'm sorry, you're from a different planet. You're seeking things that actually are worthless. Yeah, of course, if you lock the motherfucker up in a 3x3 cell, it's really bad. That's taking away his freedom. But in terms of, no, this government has to change, this order has to break, so we can bring a new order, which only under that order is called freedom. Just like this shit show that Mr. Peter Zeihan, up to this 1/3 of the video that I watched, it hasn't even mentioned any mention about how this thing that we say we are fighting for in Ukraine, freedom and democracy, we are actually taking away the freedom of their men, catching them in the street, putting them in uniform and sending them in the front line, because that's free. Running away from the front line, that's freedom. Going to the front line when you don't want to go, that's lack of freedom. So you're taking away their freedom not to want to kill themselves. You're taking away that freedom, and then democracy, the term of presidency of this schmuck dancing dodo, the term of his presidency was just over. He's just overstaying his terms of presidency, his terms of leadership. I'm sorry, but I feel bad for the Europeans because this time is going to be nuclear war, and the Europeans are going to take a bunch of give and take, a bunch of tactical nuclear missiles, and both Europe and Russia is going to be destroyed, and these Anglo-Saxons in the Five Eyes are well away from Europe. Except the fucking British, and then the British have always been suicidal. They remember, the British are the fucking guys who wear a red coat to battle. They forced them. Here's how bad the British leadership is. The British leadership thinks so little of their people that they put them in red uniforms. So if they, and the color is the color of blood, and the idea is if the guy falls, gets hit with a bullet or a sword, and he falls over, it wouldn't bring attention, immediate attention from his comrades to his wounds and possibly breaking of some morale. So in order to prevent that, we are going to make them wear red so other soldiers would not even notice where the other guy is bleeding from. How fucking ruthless you gotta be that the British are, that they actually were okay with killing their own people, but not okay with other members of their tribe being distracted by the death of these people. If you're wounded and you're wearing red, that kind of red, first they have to take your coat out to find out where you're bleeding, because they can't tell where you're bleeding because your blood is, getting mixed with the color of the coat, being camouflaged by the color of the coat. Folks, you're going down the Anglo-Saxon path. You're trying to pick a fight with every one of these motherfuckers, and you want them to go to war. And China, if you Filipino, you got this dictator over there, it's the son of the dictator, and you're trying to somehow pick a fight with China so you can go and show China how big your penis is and how good you can bombard them. Is it sane? Freedom? I'm sorry. I mean, you look at the rail network that China has produced for itself. I don't see anything wrong with that. I think that's much better. Remember, your rail network, Mr. Peter Zeihan, in North America, your rail network came with a whole bunch of bankruptcies and whole bunch of blood, sweat, and tear of the shitty way that these robber barons, that as you call them, treated each other during the days of expansion of the the rail network. You do things dramatically. I mean, we didn't hear any story behind any robber baron kind of activity out of China all throughout their development of the rail network. You know how many shitty stories and abuses and abuse, with all the Chinese labor that participated, and then they were discriminated and they were not paid, not fully, for the labor, and all these racial tensions around the rail network. The way you do things is very democratic and ugly. I'm sorry, I don't see any problem with the Chinese model. Maybe I'm stupid, but I don't see anything wrong with it. It's not as dramatic as your system, and I think that's a good thing, considering that the recent shows that I have seen. I think, legislature should, you know, be fair and quiet and reasonable and do shit. By the way, if they had done that already, you would still have most of your industry and most of your production lines and most of your education system would have been great, and health system would have been great, and housing would have been great. But no, everybody followed Mr. Peter Zeihan, and everybody said fuck industry and fuck healthcare and fuck housing and fuck education. We don't need any of that. We need more bazookas. That's Mr. Peter Zeihan for you. That's his cohorts. Again, he's making a lot of assumptions based on his hand-picked historical evidence. He picks and chooses historical evidence that he knows, and he knows a lot of history. He picks and he chooses historical evidence and then tries to predict the future. But then why are you predicting a bad future? Why aren't you the one who's saying that no, 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 we like to preserve the Russian culture, that system is good over there, bringing order over there, order is good, we want to preserve it. So what do we have to do to preserve that and not go to war? What do we have to do to help China? No, you don't say that. It's like, fuck China, we have to go and uh, all we have to do is push them and they will fall over. That's the idea, was the idea behind Iraq. Okay, yeah, okay, let's assume that is the case. Why do you want to push them? Because Anglo-Saxons are not in control? We have to push everybody? Either you take our dick up your ass, or we're going to push you until you fall over. And then we force ourselves upon you. Are you fucking kidding me? This is Mr. Peter Zeihan. This is his authoritative manner, tells you that there is no other way except they have to fall over and we have to, we just have to fuck them up the ass. Because, it's the thing to do. That's, you know, being merciful. If we help them fall over and we help ourselves up their ass, we are being helpful. Are you fucking kidding me? Iraq is in shambles. Libya is still in civil war. When was the last idea you had that helped to bring order? Which one? Everywhere you step, people who think like Mr. Peter Zeihan, everywhere they step, they bring less order, more disorder, more chaos, more death. No, seriously, I mean, it was laughable that he was saying that the Chinese are stupid and they're willing, all the Chinese from around the world are winning all these physics and math competitions, and they are the brains behind most of the innovations and industry and science. Even in the Western Hemisphere, the Chinese are the brains behind a lot of progress, scientific progress, and Mr. Peter Zeihan is looking right in the camera and saying, no, 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 these people are foolish. Shit! Absolutely nothing. They will crumble. Yes, Mr. Peter Zeihan. They're waiting for you to say and they will crumble. They're sorry they exist in the realm that you exist. They're sorry that they exist as well. Here's the thing, Mr. Joe Rogan. Here, Mr. Peter Zeihan is preparing the ground for allowing or forcing a really bad nuclear war in Asia and Europe. Mr. Peter Zeihan is in favor of that, is advocating for that, and is going so far as saying that it's inevitable that this war happens with Russia, and it's going to be a nuclear war, and Europe is going to be destroyed with nuclear weapons. And the pussy whooped Chancellor of Germany, the pussy whooped President of France, and the pussy whooped Prime Minister of England, these are all, and they're all pussy whipped boys, are going along with this bullshit. You can tell by the way who their wives are and how much their wives are older or bigger than them. Both the Chancellor of Germany, his wife is twice his size, and I'm scared of his wife than him. And we all know about the wife of the Macron is she has 20 or 30 more years seniority to him, which makes him the authority in the household, as well as, I guess, the the presidency. And then you have the pussy whipped, prime minister of England, who is, the only brown guys in a white school. I bet they had him, I bet they had his jock strap wrapped around his neck many times in that school. And he's now the leader of England. I Of course, when these people are leaders, of course Peter Zeihan is going to be a fourth, uh, the prophecy that he's making with these people, of course, is going to happen. They're absolutely useless. They're all pussy whipped men. So I'm sorry, I'm coming across a little racist, sexist here, but and these people are sitting by and letting North Americans and Anglo-Saxons bring a nuclear war to Asia and Europe, which is, eventually probably is going to affect food production and life in North America as well. This is not, the nuclear winter, even if that nuclear war happens mostly in Europe and Asia, is going to be very bad for North America as well. You're bringing destruction to an inevitable, avoidable situation. And Mr. Peter Zeihan is basically sitting there telling you that this is inevitable. Why? Because we want to expand NATO. It's either ours or we blow it up. It's either ours or we blow it up. Ours or we blow it up. This is the theory behind Mr. Peter Zeihan's perspective. It's ours or we blow it up. He was this for a period. He was literally describing the image of how Uncle Sam's managers are running their show. He was describing that image with regards to very deep animosity between the top higher echelons of people. He was describing his own state in North America, but he was he was ascribing it. I think it's the right word. I don't know. Maybe it's the wrong word. But he was trying to say that China and Russia is like this. It's like I'm describing myself, but I'm telling you, no. What I'm describing is actually the other guy. Imagine you show up with a bloody face and you start describing a bloody face and telling your guy that, yeah, you see, I gave him a bloody face, and keep describing yourself and telling the other guy is this bloody. He's trying to say China is in isolation. And if we don't provide naval security, China will fall flat on its face. Nothing is dead. The rest of the world is going to China's doorstep, knocking on the door, shaking hands, kissing the cheek, in order to be part of the Chinese export market. They need what the Chinese are producing, and they're damn good at it. Everybody's knocking on their door to get in, to have good relationship with China. And in United Nations, just recently, it was Uncle Sam's managers and Israel on one side, the rest of the fucking planet on the other side. Just recently, Uncle Sam and Israel were the only. I'm sorry, I think Nauru was also there. That's an island with a population of 50,000 in South Pacific. Uncle Sam's manager have these, handful of, show and tell nations. It's called the Nauru. It's an island with 50,000 people, and apparently it's independent, and in United Nations it always votes with Uncle Sam's manager. Yeah, remember Nauru, Micronesia, a couple of handful of these nations. That's it. So in reality, this is what I'm saying. Mr. Peter Zeihan is looking in the mirror and describing himself, but then they're telling you that no, the other guy looks like this. No, you're isolated. Uncle Sam's manager have been isolated for a long time with regards to Ukraine and with regards to Israel. And the rest of the world is against both these situations that have been brought by American arms export. The rest of the world is saying no, there is some kind of a logical arrangements can be come about there, and Uncle Sam's Rangers are saying no, fuck you. The only logical arrangement is you bend over and take it up the ass. And the Russians are saying no. When was the last time you fucked the Russian up the ass and you wanted to remember the occasion? It's insulting that Mr. Peter Zeihan is saying that Chinese that we know is exporting everything to every place in the world right now, and everybody wants to be friends with China. They're trying. Mr. Peter Zeihan is telling you that China is isolated, and we are not. Are you fucking kidding me? He's trying to say we are indispensable if we don't provide naval security. No, I think other nations also. Nobody is, only there were pirates of Caribbean, that there were Anglo-Saxons, and before that, some Vikings did a lot of piracy. But beside that, the rest of the world have been, doing their thing for a long while, without Europeans, without you know, any kind of input from Anglo-Saxons. You're the one who take away the security and then collect the toll to bring back the security. You say you pay me, you buy treasury securities from me, you buy my bonds, and I don't sink your ships. And I don't confiscate your ships. If you don't buy my bonds, I will confiscate your ships. For some other reason. To do with, human rights and I will find a reason. Gentlemen from planet Zeihan, as I said. And the whole time, Mr. Joe Rogan, the whole time Mr. Peter Zeihan is pretending that the world is on fire. And we are the only firemen available on the beat. The world is on fire. But you can see that no, the only fires that are started with American firework. They keep arming Taiwan, and they keep arming Ukraine, and they keep arming Israel. 2,000-pound bombs and 3,000 pounds, and more 5,000-pound bombs. Do we have bigger? And they keep pretending that Israel, which has been bombing the rest of the Middle East for 75 years, is somehow the victim. I'm sorry, if Israel becomes a secular state and accepts Arabs, all Arabs and all natives as their citizens, everything will stop. All the killing stops. This is the problem: is they don't want to consider all the people who are born on that land as their citizens. They don't want to do that. Why they don't want to do that? Because it's an European colony. Mr. Peter Zeihan is trying to say, nope, they are our allies, therefore they must be good. Because we are good. Of course we are good. Because it's we. Yeah, that's the whole argument, is my penis is the best penis. He's trying to pretend. This is what he's doing, Mr. Peter Zeihan, by trying to advocate that the world is on fire. He's trying to mentally prepare you for a world that he wants to set on fire. He wants to set the world on fire, so he's preparing you mentally that the world is on fire. No, it's not. You know, the gas pipeline was there. Russians were happy, they were on the sending end, and the Germans were happy, they were on the receiving end. They didn't need your presence there. They didn't need your freedom there. But you cut them off and you said, no, motherfucker, you're part of NATO. You have to buy energy from us. And the pussy whoop chancellor of Germany, both of them, the last pussy whoop who was a pussy herself, who had a pussy herself, and this pussy whoop, when say, yeah, of course, we love to buy your more expensive gas. Of course, you don't need to use Vaseline. You can run dry. You can fuck me dry. Yeah, this is, this is the Germans when they determined to get fucked, they like it raw. Here's the thing, Mr. Peter Zeihan. The only thing that matters is order. If you're a human being, if you like history and artifacts and you like people being alive, the only thing that matters is order. If anywhere in the world things are working and there is order, they don't need to be part of NATO, they don't need to be part of AUKUS, MUCUS, PUCUS. No. If it's orderly, leave it alone. It's orderly. Eventually they will, if they, under order, they can educate themselves and then they can think whether they want to, govern themselves in a different format, a better format than what is available. The format that they have currently. It's no place for you to go and show them the correct format of governance, just like it wasn't your business to go over there and show them the correct format of economy in terms of communism, just like wasn't your business to go over there to show them the correct format of religion, that is Christianity, which was, 300, 400, 500 years ago you did that, and just like before that you didn't have the right to go and show them the correct format of civilization, considering yourself the correct format of civilization and what is civilized. Nobody needs your shit. You don't have the best religion, you don't have the best economy. God knows you don't have the best economy with this kind of income disparities. God knows you don't have the best governance with this, baboons who in many cases reach high places in governance, both in civil service and in elected politics. So no, some are good, some are very intelligent, but there are many who are less than average intelligence or informed, intelligence and information. So you don't have the best form of government, and you. The funny thing is, he started saying that the Chinese leader is isolated. He is isolated. Again, you're describing yourself. You have left the election of your next president, your next candidate from the Democratic Party has been left up to the close members of the family of the president to decide whether he should remain the leader, a contender for the next 4 years. You have left it to like 5-6 people of immediate family members of the current president to decide whether he stays in office for another 4 years. And then you have the nerve to call the Chinese system isolated or Chinese president isolated? What are you talking about? They have a upper bureau and a poultry bureau, and they have at least it's a 5 or 7 member or 9 member council of presidency, and she is just they're elected. You got, you know, a small family deciding who, whether, the same person should run for the next presidency, and you call the Chinese system isolated. Oh, you call the Russians, the Putin isolated. Oh, really? Again, literally, he describes himself in the mirror and tells you that this, no, 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 this is the description of the other guy. Basically, the argument that Mr. Peter Zeihan and the whole military-industrial complex is putting forward is that if we are not there on the beat, things will get messy. But then we know that no, it's like you are the ones who literally, that's basically the argument of gangsters. And the gangster who approaches you says, you need to pay me this amount for this business that you're running here, and if you don't pay me, things may get messy for your business. That's the same argument. If we are not there to provide protection, things will get messy, is exactly what happens in the gangster world, and the one who does actually make it messy is the gangster himself. Basically, you're paying protection from himself. You're paying him to protect you from himself. And this is Mr. Peter Zeihan, and this is his grand plan. Gangster. Seriously, in the Caribbean, please go back and check. In the Caribbean, there were only the most well-known pirates were Caribbean pirates, and they were all Europeans. You don't hear of a Chinese pirates, you don't hear of a Russian pirates, you don't hear of a, you know, you've heard of some Somali pirates recently, but their country has been broken up and under sanction from all the Anglo-Saxons and Europeans for the past 20, 30, 40 years. So, and they have been invaded multiple times, by Europeans, by pinkskins. So they're desperate, but not, you know Anglo-Saxons and Europeans who turned into piracy in the Caribbean, it wasn't out of desperation. They were just wanted to be sword for hires. They were sword for hires for the queen and kings. Then they went into private business and became sword for hire for themselves. They become the first gangsters, pirates. You're following in the same footsteps. Pay us or there will be trouble. Thanks. He was literally saying that the Chinese don't have critical care system. He was talking about the medical system in China and the healthcare system in China. All Chinese have free healthcare. This is Asia. Asian countries do take responsibility for their citizens. This is the Anglo-Saxons mentality that doesn't take responsibility for their citizens. But all Asian countries try to provide free healthcare for their citizens. All Asian countries, just like all European countries, have to provide. This is some kind of Anglo-Saxon bullshit. that no, not all our citizens deserve healthcare, not all of them deserve housing, not all of them deserve education. This is some Anglo-Saxon bullshit. But the idea to come and say, no, 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 the healthcare we have is better than the healthcare the Chinese have, no, fuck you. We can see the videos that they have cleaned their airs and cities, sky is blue in China. We can see the videos, but Mr. Peter Zeihan is still trying to stick to the lie of 20 years ago, 30 years ago, China. Mr. Peter Zeihan, we are not fucking blind. No, the reality is, here's the reality is, Mr. Joe Rogan, Mr. Peter Zeihan, I, this is, I wrote this, I created this video just like after watching 1/3 of your interview with Mr. Peter Zeihan. I'm going to watch the rest, but you gotta understand that this man is, as I said, has got a stamp of military-industrial complex on his forehead, but in reality he's a puppet of very wealthy people who, make up 0.01% or 0.001% of the society. Ultra rich who see a benefit in controlling more of the planet, more of the resources, because they don't trust anybody else with those resources but themselves. And in reality is that what we have seen Anglo-Saxons in North America have created with the resources that they have had up to now is that they have created more death. North America, instead of creating more universities around the world and creating more, you know, more housing for their own people and educating their own people really well and doing a lot of things good, increasing the quality of life for their own people, North Americans have chosen to, you know, go into the arms and bombing and war industry instead of taking care of their own people. And Mr. Peter Zeihan is there to just, make try to create an evil entity out of Russia and China and try to make you hate them and try to at the same time feel sorry for them that they're backwards and they're just not as good as Anglo-Saxons. They're Chinese, they're dumb and worthless, and they're Russians and they're dumb and worthless, and their fall is inevitable because they're falling already. And yeah, Mr. Peter Rogan, I love Mr. Peter Zeihan, Mr. Joe Rogan. I love Mr. Peter Zeihan, but the man is a genius in making a show out of hot air, making geopolitics you know like a show. But what he's selling, that snake oil that he's selling in his shows, is predicting the doom and trying to create the doom, and it's trying to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Bad idea. All Peter Zeihan's ideas should be taken with a grain of salt and not listened to at all, and try to bring some kind of if it's orderly, don't touch it. If it has order, don't touch it. That's the only thing. They will grow on their own and find a better form of government and better form of economy, or better religion. But let them do their thing on their own timeline and try to protect them because you have destroyed too much on earth already, Mr. Peter Zeihan and co. Just look at the Middle East. That's your recent work. And look at East Asia, and that was your older work. With, there's still, the Agent Orange has still not bleached out of their DNA. They haven't been able to bleach it out of their DNA yet. Stop, man. Just Peter. Fucking Anglo-Saxons. Anglo-Saxon mentality. As I said, it's not even good for Anglo-Saxons because the rich ones get the poor ones killed. For expansion.